It was a case that captured national attention. Botham Jean shot and killed in his apartment by then Dallas police officer Amber Guyger after she mistook his apartment for her own. She was convicted of murder, and as of today, she is eligible for parole.
Now, Trevor Sohaki is live for us in Dallas. Trevor, Guyger was sentenced to 10 years for Botham Jean's murder, but could be out earlier than that.
Yeah, that's right, Madison and Karen. She's served 5 years of her 10-year sentence so far. And like you said, this was a big case, not only here in the city, but across the country as well. Guyger told authorities that she confused Botham Jean's apartment for her own and shot him while she was off duty. Now, a former parole officer and University of Texas Arlington professor told me it's very rare for the parole board to make a decision about parole on the same day they review an applicant, meaning it's unlikely Guyger would get out today. The timeline for a decision from the board is also unclear. It could decide in a few weeks or a few months. We're told there are a variety of factors that go into granting or denying parole.
Whether they've been in any type of trouble while they've been in prison. What have they done productive while they've been in prison? Do they have any write-ups? Do they have any infractions? Have people spoken favorable toward them, period?
So, big question, is Guyger going to get parole or not? Well, one attorney I spoke with told me it's unlikely she gets parole because this is her first time up for parole and she's been convicted of a violent crime. So both of those go against her. I also spoke with Botham Jean's family last week about Guyger being up for parole. They told me if they have any say in the matter, she'd stay behind bars for her entire sentence.
He's caused my family tremendous harm, tremendous hurt, tremendous pain, and she ought to remain where she is.
Nearly 6 years to the day after Botham Jean was shot in his apartment in Dallas, his killer, Amber Guyger, is up for parole on Monday on what would have been Botham's 33rd birthday.
She needs to serve her entire 10-year term, which is way below a sentence that one receives for murder. And murder of an innocent man in the comfort of his home, doing nothing wrong.
Guyger, a Dallas police officer at the time, told authorities she confused Botham Jean's apartment for her own. Her body camera was not recording during the shooting because she was off duty. Zarita Hall is a professor at the University of Texas Arlington and a former parole officer. She said letters from Botham's family would be considered during a parole hearing.
This man was murdered. He was killed in his own home. So I would imagine letters of support of her staying in prison would probably be pouring in.
Guyger was convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison in 2019. She appealed the conviction but lost her appeal 2 years ago.
She will go before the parole board. There's a panel of people. They'll ask her questions, about how she changed and what she thinks about, all these things, right?
Hall said Guyger may not appear in person and the board may just review the paperwork.
So public concern can definitely be a factor. Support letters for the victim, support letters for the person that's incarcerated.
We have reached out to Guyger's attorneys multiple times for comment, but have not heard back. Trevor Sohaki, CBS News, Texas.
So you all just heard that news clip, that news article right there, well, that news audio. And I'm not surprised that they are saying that this woman is eligible for parole after only being locked up for 6 years out of the 10 that she's been getting. First off, it's crazy how fast time flies. I can't believe it's actually been 6 years since this has happened. It's crazy how time just goes by in the blink of an eye, especially since so much stuff has happened since then. And I mean, a lot has happened since that occurred. And I remember how pissed off many of us were. We remember how that damn kangaroo court was handled from that judge, and giving her a hug, giving her a Bible, and then the brother asking her for a hug. I mean, just a complete utter display. You had the bailiff fixing her hair. It was just a madhouse. Like that right there, I think took away from the real reason as to why they were in court that day or that time period, which was to convict this woman of murder. Let's just put the cards on the table. That's what she was convicted of. That's why she was there. And many people, of course, were very pissed because the sentencing they felt didn't fit the crime, as in they felt she should have got longer than what she got, which was only 10 years. But now they're saying she's eligible for parole after 6. Well, I hope they deny her parole and make her finish out the rest of her sentence. She only got 4 more years. She ain't got nothing else to do. Do them 4 more years and then hopefully be on a lifetime probation, if you ask me. Now, one thing that really stuck out, well, actually 2 things that stuck out to me, was one when they said that her eligibility for parole, they probably are going to end up denying it because of the crime in which she was convicted of. It was a violent crime. It wasn't a petty crime. It wasn't a misdemeanor or something like that. Like, she actually took someone's life. That's number one. The other one was when you heard Botham Jean's mother speak, and she didn't come with the whole forgive thing. As you can see, she's a far cry from her other son, who decided he wanted to give this woman a hug. And she said she needs to finish out the remainder of her sentence. And I was over here listening to it. I couldn't make any noise because y'all would have heard me. That I was agreeing with her. She needs to finish out the rest of her sentence. She only got 4 more years. Do those 4 and you'll be out in 2028. And like I said, hopefully she gets a lifetime probation or some whatever the legal jargon is when it comes to her. Because she needs to do that. That's the consequence. She did the crime, you got to do the time. That's what they tell us. Well, now we telling them, you do the crime, you do your goddamn time. She's fortunately lucky that she only had to do 10 years. Some people would get well, in her case, I guess you could say her privilege didn't work all the way for her. It only worked halfway because while she did get time, she didn't get as much time as she should have received. Also, another thing that stuck out to me was they're saying that her parole hearing fell on the same day as what would have been Botham Jean's 33rd birthday. I said, you have got to be kidding me. Now, you can't tell me they didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, they love doing them symbolic gestures, but there's nothing symbolic about putting this woman up for parole on the same day that she killed the man whose birthday was supposed to be that day. That's crazy. Leave her ass right where she is. Let her finish out those 4 years. I'm sure those 4 years are going to go by fast. I mean, she already did over half. She already did 6 years. Let her knock out the other 4, and then I don't know what should happen to her after that. But I know one thing that should not happen to her, and that's her becoming a cop again. Because you never know. They might try to slither her way back into somebody's department. You just never know. Because what we always say, they're never fired, always transferred. And the same thing can happen here in her case. We've seen it play out like this several times before.